There we go. We're live. We thought we'd just we'd welcome all of you guys who are doing this to potentially sort of join us as we're starting our Christmas celebrations early. I'm stuck in an awful hotel in Manchester, so I've resorted, and I couldn't bring any Christmas mead, so I'm on red wine. Wendy, come on, show us what you've got.
Well, that's all I've got left out of this glass because my husband pinched about the same amount of our sweet mead.
Oh, your sweet mead.
Sweet
okay,
mead.
Cool.
Yes.
Rodri, what have you got? Are you bringing it into the table for Christmas?
I've got a glass of squash. It's not very exciting. But...
Oh, we were meant to be having mead. That was the point. It's the Christmas Craft Hangout. We're meant to be having mead today. Pauline, what have you got?
I've got honey and chocolate ice cream, homemade.
Ah, and is it your own honey?
Well, it's already finished, actually. I've been tucking in.
Oh, and I'm jealous. Well, I mean, for those people who are joining us, I mean, this is sort of something we do at the end of the year. We do continue our hangouts up to the end, and sadly, I didn't bring my Father Christmas hat, which I normally have on to celebrate the sort of the Beecroft Christmas. But for those of you who are watching, in between Pauline's spoonfuls of honey ice cream, which we keep on transferring back to. For those of you who are joining us, welcome to the Beecroft Hangout. This is what we do every single month. So if you're new to this, welcome. If not, welcome back. And what we're going to be looking at today, as it is literally the last one of the year, is really a sort of an informal conclusion to the Beecroft year for us. So what we're going to look at is actually beekeeping resolutions. And I've actually had some really good ones.
James, you've gone.
Who comment? I've got it on my phone here.
James, so we can't hear you.
Oh, can you not hear me?
No, you disappeared. Then we haven't heard a word of the Beecraft resolutions. Sorry, beekeeping resolutions. Every time you turn away, we lose you.
All right, let me bring this up here. There we are. I can bring it a little bit closer. Does that? Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, cool. I'm just finding all we are, but.
No, we can't hear you again now.
Oh, man. There you go. I'm going to turn my phone to this side so hopefully we can hear you. You can hear me. But yeah, how are you all? Are you all well?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you. Yes.
Well, you should be with all your mead.
Well, yeah, I could be in a drunken stupor for all you know.
That'd be rather good. So that's it. So why don't we do this, right? Because obviously this is the end of the year. So we've had some good and useful hangouts this year. A lot of around the sort of the Q&As. So as an introduction for next year, we are very much looking forward to aligning the hangouts with what we're doing in the magazine, because obviously that's what we do. And we want to sort of continue this sort of informal Q&A feel of it as well. So we're sort of looking at some of the articles we're putting in the magazine and actually discussing those as a panel, and then bringing in some sort of Q&A questions. So actually, while we're on the Q&A point, you'll notice underneath the video, there's a little form that you can fill in. And if you've got any comments or queries or questions, you want to talk about what your beekeeping resolutions for 2017 are, pop them in there and I can read them out. But hopefully next year, which will hopefully be quite informative. So without further ado, let me put some pressure on you guys. Let's start with you, Pauline, because you chocolate ice cream. What's your beekeeping resolution?
Oh, James, you caught me by surprise. I think to do a little bit more beekeeping than I did last year. Last year, I'm very fortunate. My husband and I do our beekeeping together, or at least I say that. But we had a lot of volunteer workers helping us. So they ended up all wanting to help out with the beekeeping, and I ended up hardly doing any, just letting them get on with it. So next year, I'd really like to do a little bit more beekeeping.
Because if you are starting to work, so what, you've got people working with you to doing all the extractions and the sort of the hive maintenance side?
Well, it's a scheme called WOOFing, Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. So we don't actually ask for them to come to help with the beekeeping because we need help with the gardening and looking after the chickens and ducks and turkeys and things. And we don't really need any help with the beekeeping. But if they work well, as a special treat, we take them beekeeping with us. So yeah, and they all enjoy learning a bit about beekeeping.
Oh, I'm not surprised. They must love that. For them.
Excellent.
I'm not surprised your resolution would be quite the same. But what about you, Rodri?
Ooh, you put me on the spot now.
We've all got to do it.
Yeah, I know.
We've all got to have resolutions.
My resolution, it's going to be quite plain. It's going to be increase the number of stocks next year. I suffered a few losses with all the failing queens, so I'm going to make an effort to increase the number of stocks this year. Hopefully, get to 20 hives.
Wow.
If I got the time to do it, so
because we can benchmark this. This is it, right? We're gonna benchmark it for next year. So you got to come on here and confess whether you've only got to 12. But where are you now?
Now I think totaling it up in my head, I've got seven.
Wow, so that's almost tripling.
Yeah. It'll be a big increase.
How are you going to do that?
Hopefully
splitting.
Yeah, splitting.
Buying a new one, swarm.
Split in, capture a few swarms, hopefully. So yeah, see how it goes.
Before I mention you, Wendy, we've actually already had John Forster. Thank you for your comments. I'm going to put this to Wendy in a minute about her recipes. Recipes for good meat, right? He's asking that. So in fact, I'm pretty sure Pauline, you will know some good meat. Yeah, I'll bring that in a minute. But Wendy, your resolution for next year?
My resolution, actually, we're going to reduce our number of hives, because I'm
sensible.
That's easy.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, Rodri. Yeah, we've got a lot, and to be fair, I'm waiting for a hip operation, so it's going to be a bit difficult for me next year. So that's why we're going to have to reduce our hives to some of them anyway. Don't know how many yet, but
I was going to say, how many have you got at the minute? I can't remember. You're getting quite a few now.
Yeah, I've got about 50 at the moment. So I really do need to reduce the numbers. They're all Langstroth and polyhive, so it'll be the lot that, you know, that's what I'm thinking we're going to have to do anyway. I can't envisage that we're going to get volunteers to help out.
Couldn't you do a temporary move and then bring them back when everything's better?
Questionable. It's questionable. I don't know, because I don't know how I'll be afterwards. So it's anyway. That's enough on the negative side. That's my beekeeping resolution. But it's really to get them through the winter first of all. And
I think you'll go from 50 to 49.
Well, I don't know. We shall see, James. It's watch this space. Watch this space. So.
They'll probably end up increasing again. They always do.
I know. We've said we really have got to keep on top of that next year. So, but there you go. That's a bit of a negative one. So I'm sorry about that. But
no, but it's sensible though. You know, that's the thing. We can't look at it as negative. We've got to look at it as sensible, which is, you know, as beekeepers, we all go those, and you know, some of us can scale up, some of us have to scale down. But it's the people who don't do anything and expect it to be the same year on year, which are the irresponsible ones. So I think it's I actually think it's an outlook rather than a negative one. Yeah,
you keep fading out, James. I don't know if it's because you're playing about with your cable.
Oh, maybe. Well, I'm sorry about that, but I was trying to actually give you a positive and say I think you're being responsible.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. That's fine. Yes. Anyway, on to happier things.
So has said, what is the best mead recipe?
Well, if you're asked,
I'll extend that out so you can get some time. So he said, do you have any good mead recipes? I've just recently made 4 gallons of plain mead, but with 1 flavoured mead recipes.
With 1 what, sorry?
Trusted flavoured mead recipes.
Okay.
So when you add...
Sorry, when you add?
When you add a flavour in.
Right. I haven't added any flavors in, and I've used a very basic recipe that was in a really old book that my husband's mother had, and we find that is the best recipe, because looking online, and for some recipes you got to clean the containers with a specific thing, which is a foul smelling thing that you actually shouldn't inhale anyway. There's some really peculiar things that they suggest that you use in your mead, which we tried and actually ended up getting rid of the whole lot. So we've gone back to the very basic. We use honey, we use bottled water from the supermarket, and that's pretty much it, I think. But I can go and get the book and tell you what the recipe is if you want it, or I can, if anyone wants to drop me an email, Wendy at b-craft.com, then I'm quite happy to pop that along.
I think it was more the flavour.
Was it?
Pauline, have you ever investigated flavours at all?
Yeah, I'm afraid not. We're not into. We like a little bit of mead occasionally, but I'm not very keen on the flavoured meads. What we do make is birch sap wine, which should really be called birch sap mead, because that's made with honey, not sugar. It's a fantastic drink, but it's not a flavoured mead.
Do you know, I've got to be honest, I've never heard of that at all.
Birch sap wine? Well, you have to tap the birch trees.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I'm quite intrigued.
Yeah, you could only do it in March. I think March is the time. You've got to judge it just right as the sap is rising. If you get it right, you can fill a demi-john in no time.
What do you do once you've tapped? What do you do once you've tapped the birch tree?
Well, you basically tap a demi-john worth of fluid from the birch tree, and you have to put a wooden plug in to help the tree to heal and block up the hole. And then the actual sap, you add sugar and yeast. Well, sugar, honey and yeast, and it ferments.
I've got to come and see you. That sounds lovely. I've honestly, and it's probably my naivety of this, I've never really looked at the products outside of honey, so that's part of my naivety with that. But that sounds absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
it's a lovely wine. Well, or mead. I don't know what you'd call it.
I'm coming to yours. Have you done that, Rodri? Have you ever investigated that side of things?
Flavors in mead. I've tried making mead with heather honey, because it's meant to give it a much stronger, sort of darker flavor. But that's sort of plopping away in the corner at the moment, so it's not quite ready yet.
Plopping away in the corner. That's not making it sound very appetizing.
Well, it's the first.
I know what you mean. In the demi jar. Yeah. Gotcha.
I don't know what it'll turn out like, but
it's good. Well, we've just found out. We just found out what James's resolution is, I think, for next year. So, right.
Do you want me to tell you what it is?
Yes, go on then.
So those of you who might have listened to this hangout a few times, is I've got a few problems with my farmer, actually. So my aim for next year is to move my hives to a new location, and to do similar to you, Rodri. Really, actually, is to bring more hives in and grow my colonies, I should say, because I've had a rather frustrating couple of years in the sense I've been sort of almost sort of had restricted access to my hives. So I've been able to sort of, well, not been able to do very much with it. So it's been quite frustrating a couple of years. Can get back to it in a far more frequent sort of rate, really, which it's been a really tough couple of years. Just, I mean, it's very difficult when you've had restricted access to farmland if you haven't got a sort of a concrete agreement in place with a landowner. And finally, I think I'm able to move it this sort of early late winter, and can move them to a new location. So for me, it's almost to start again, which sounds quite a harsh thing to say, but I'm quite looking forward to it. So it's sort of a positive out of a negative.
it's always one of the key problems as well with beginners. Talking to beginners, they always struggle to find a good site with good access, with a friendly farmer or something to put the hives on. So
that's the thing. I had a friendly farmer, and you know, just what can you do when it turns, it turns. So for me, my resolution is almost to start again and start building my hive stocks up again, and I'm quite looking forward to that, actually.
If it's any consolation,
Quite nice.
James, we've had to leave a couple of places, and actually you end up moving to or finding new apiaries which are better than the ones that you had previously anyway, better access and that sort of thing, because when you start out you just want somewhere to put your bees, don't you? But and it's later on that you really look at access.
Yeah, you do. But the sad thing for me was that I could be at the top of my stairs and look out of a big window and look into the field and see my hives. And it was perfect for me and it was perfect for them. And I'm now at the position where I regretfully have to move them. So actually, I know for me and the bees, more importantly, I'm going to have to move them to an area which is perhaps not as, you know, in one way it's tinged with sadness. In the other way, it's tinged with opportunity in the sense of I can start keeping the bees as I want to, which is to, you know, to be more active with them. So yeah, good. But let's.
I think James has gone again.
He's gone again.
Other.
He's back.
That's really
the
weird.
disappearing beekeeper.
It is.
Not the invisible beekeeper, almost, perhaps.
It's when I turn. I can't do that anymore. I've got to stop. Right, but I'm on my phone. So I've got Simon Crosden, a very good friend of Beecraft. Now, I don't know if this means a lot to me. Try something new at the show bench. Okay. So in his shows, he wants to broaden his beekeeping horizons. He or her, who dares wins. So I think he just wants to try some new things at Beekeeping Awards. Danny Ackrig, husband is making me a wild bee box to hoist up high into a tree at the bottom of the garden. It's undergone meticulous planning. I'd like a swarm to find it and live.
James, keep your head still.
Sorry. Rigid. Wild bee box. Has anyone tried a wild bee box before?
I'm not quite sure what a wild bee box is, to be honest.
No.
I would almost call that a permanent bait hive.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I'm doing eye movements rather than face movements. I'm so worried. So Clive Stewart, and I think this is a good one, and I think we should all adhere to this. You guys, are your hive records perfect?
Ooh. Good question.
I think that says it all, doesn't it?
Tomorrow, would you make sense of them, or would she make sense of them?
Write them. Perfect when you write them. It's when you come to read them back later, you can't understand what you put.
Yes, yeah, I would agree with that. I have to say that I have to keep pretty good records, because otherwise the other half has a moan. You know, we'll go into hive and say, right, what are we looking for here? And I have to be able to answer it. So I've got a ring binder with a page for each hive, and the last date we went and what we saw, and is the queen marked or is she clipped? That's at the top of the page. Where did the queen come from? Sometimes I can answer that one, but sometimes when you get queen cells and you're not sure whether the queen has gone, or whether you're getting a virgin queen, there are quite a lot of confusions, aren't there, around that sort of time. So I generally know whether it's a buckfast or a carniolan. Not that I don't think we've got any carniolans left, but I have this wonderful system where if you buy in a buckfast, then the next generation is the buckfast daughter and then the buckfast granddaughter. And ultimately you just sort of run out and just say, yeah, it's just buckfast. So
We have raw mongrel bees, and I have to say, for me, the most important part of our records is the temper score. We score them one up to 5, where 5 is very, very nice and 1 is horrible. And that makes a big, when we're deciding which queens to keep or which hives to breed from, it's a very important score.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, that is another good thing to keep, definitely.
Year, the 2 colonies I had one which was a number 1 on the temper score, i.e. actually in my case were really relaxed, and one was at a 5, which was just awful. And I never knew whether I should go in the 5 first or the 1 first. And as a beginner, it was quite daunting, actually, I must say, week in, week out, going into a really angry hive, and it was quite daunting, and I didn't necessarily enjoy it too much. But that's a good point. So you think temper score is the most important point?
It is for me.
Yeah, I have to say it is for me, because you can look at the progress over time in terms of when the queen moves and changes through the drone.
Yeah.
And we breed all our own, so that's a vital. You know, we're looking at a number of other things as well, but you know, that's important when you're breeding them.
Yeah.
Rodri, what about you? What's your main thing on the hive card? Out of interest.
I should really start keeping more accurate records. I tend to store it away in the back of my mind, to be honest, and just hope I recall it when I come back the next time. But yeah, it's yeah.
So there you are. You can keep the same resolution as is it Andrew?
Well, I was going to look into getting one of the apps. You know, there's lots of apps out there now where you can just take your smartphone and
Clive,
digitally input the records. So I might look at something like that. But, if anyone's got any recommendations, feel free to get in touch.
As in what, the online hive card
Yeah, the
stuff?
online versions. Yeah.
There's a few. I've seen a few which are using sort of the iPads, and I find that quite difficult to work out how to use that, because if you're doing it sort of almost in situ, it's a very difficult. And the iPad, not really conducive in any way.
Did you?
It's almost.
Go on.
I was going to say, it's actually worse than having children and iPads. Next level of what Apple should have been testing when they brought these things out. You know, children and you know, slobbery hands are nothing compared to propolis.
I have to say, I did used to keep my records on the iPad, but I did paper records at the hive and then transferred it onto the iPad when I got back home. But I thought it's just duplication of effort. So.
No, it's not bad. That's not bad. Cool.
Ours are all paper.
On the back of the shed door for my hive card. So carry on. So we've got Sue. Oh, I'm going to keep it straight again. Sue wants to start a top bar hive. That's a great resolution. Have any of you guys got top bar hives? Or?
No.
See, I haven't, but I love that. Sue, let us know how you get on. That sounds fantastic. We've got Jan Pierce, learn more, get more bees.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That's a good one. So Dick Horton's come up and said get up to 4 hives again from 2. Interesting. Again, I'd be interested to know hives or whether you want to just bring some more in. We've got Simon Cavill, another friend of the Beecraft lot. Experiment by making some super insulated hives.
Sorry, okay. Making some what? Super what?
Super insulated.
Right.
Quite an interesting one. I don't know whether that means sort of wrapping the hives up with the insulation on the outside for over winter to see if they come out stronger. Similar to the sort of, I know what you said a lot, Wendy, in the past, is that the polystyrene hives really do come out very quicker. In my experience too, they form very quick in the spring. And yeah, it's a nice thing to do.
Keep your head still.
Sorry. You guys are crystal clear. It must be me. It's Manchester.
You've got worse as we've gone on, James. It must be what you're drinking.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. It's a Shiraz, I just say. Right, I've got Sam Lawrence to get rid of.
You're
gone again.
So Sam Lawrence, straight face, wants to get rid of her bees.
Right, as in she wants
Jane?
she's got them in a hive and she wants to sell them, or
Yeah, looks
wants
it.
somebody to take them, or what?
Well, they apparently her and her other half have developed. It's a real shame.
Sorry, James, you went again.
Okay, I'm determined to be back. I'm going to say this in a one diatribe, and I'm going to repeat it 4 times over.
Okay.
So if you're missing 1 in every 4 words, you'll at least get a sentence, which is her other half has severe allergies. Think she's
Right.
trying to sell it. And that's a real shame.
To bee stings, is that?
Must be. It must be.
I just wonder whether her husband might be on some anti-inflammatory medication, anti-inflammatory tablets, something like diclofenac, because anti-inflammatory tablets do have an adverse reaction with a bee sting. So if that's a potential cause, if he's only on them temporarily, then maybe he would be okay, you know, once he's off the medication. But that's just a thought, and obviously if it's more than that, then getting rid of them is the safest thing to do. Shame for you, though.
Yes, sad position. Right, we've had a few more questions coming in. So Martin, can you guys hear me, by the way, just to make sure?
Yes, at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, good. I flicked onto my email, so I'm just reading through here. So Martin's come back and saying he has a voice recorder, all contained. This is all to do with Hive records, by the way. All contained in a USB stick. Therefore, just switch it on and place it in your top and download it when you get home. So that's I quite like that, because I tell you what,
yes.
The one thing I really struggled with was keeping tabs. Me counting. I mean, it's a typical man thing. I couldn't do 3 things at once. So analysing what I had, being able to remember it in my brain, and then putting it down. So a voice recorder in your top pocket. Those the general ones, the BJ Sheriff ones have that, don't they? If memory serves me correctly, a good top pocket. So that's a good one. And actually now, I've now got 3 people who want to improve their record. So that's quite interesting. Just a quick one for all of you. We've had a question from Ricky. Which hive would you recommend for me, as I'm not strong? Just starting out, don't have any bees yet, just researching. What would you all recommend?
I would probably recommend polystyrene nationals. Polystyrene's lighter. We're all Langstroth, and to be honest, if you've got a full super, then I can't take a full super off. I have to take them off frame by frame, because I just can't lift that sort of weight. So a Langstroth, I think would be too big. So I would recommend a national, and of course I only have polystyrene hives, so I'd obviously recommend those.
And what I would say is, it's not just the hive, it's where you put your bees, because if you're not strong and you can't carry a full super very far, you need to be able to get your vehicle right up to where your bees are, or very close, so that you're not actually having to carry the equipment very far.
Yeah,
I think that's a really, really valuable point. I think it's very easy to recommend, isn't it? It's very easy to recommend that. So
it's worth a lot of time on the setup of the hive as well, to get the height of it right. So then you can limit the bending, and any damage to your back as well then. So.
Yeah. Can I say, I mean, we've got ours on hive benches, just as Rodri suggested, but I've also got a table that's a bit higher than the hive bench. So if I need to take a super off, then I lift it off onto the table. You can, I mean, maybe you take the roof off, or you have a spare roof that you stand on top of the table, put on top of the table, and then put your super on top of that. But that means you're not doing any bending at all. It's almost, if you get the heights right, then it's almost a sliding operation. Particularly, I would say, with Swente hives, if Ricky decides to go with polystyrene.
I mean, I've never used the Dartington hive, but I have seen them, and they have half-size supers on them, don't they?
Yes, they
what do
do.
call
Which is what the old omelette hive was based on, wasn't it? Either half supers. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, you'd almost, the natural inclination is to say, well, go for a poly hive, but there's sort of 2 or 3 differences here. So there's some good advice there. So thank you for that. So Ricky, I hope that helps. We've actually just had our editor, Claire, who is not with us today, but for those of you, I think it was John who was looking for Mead recipes. She was actually recommending Harry Rich's book, Complete Mead Maker. Excuse me. There are recipes in Mead by Harry Riches, so that's one book, and The Complete Mead Maker by Ken Schram, I think it is, SCHRAM. Both were and are accomplished mead makers, so I would trust their recipes. There we are. So I don't know if you heard that, or I'm presuming you did. So you did, and that makes all a lot of sense. So there we are. So look, I mean, without further ado, I mean, is there anything else that you feel in the Christmas period we should be recommending to our Beecraft subscribers and fellow beekeepers?
I suppose the only thing I'm going to do over the Christmas period now is probably visit the hives, make sure they're sound for winter, put some oxalic acid treatment on, and I might do a belt and braces job and put some fondant on top of them. But the majority of my hives have been fed for the winter, so there's plenty of weight in them. So.
If I may, that's a very good point. We had a question this afternoon from Jill. And I think we just need to relay her fears a little bit. Let me just read this out. So, I mean, this is what this Hangout's all about. Ask questions in a sort of a nice informal way. So, Jill says, recently I put some fondant on top of the crown board with slits cut into the polythene in order to boost the bees' winter stores. 2 days later, there were hundreds of bees lying dead on the ground outside the entrance of the hive, with bees carrying out more dying bees. Is it possible the fondant melted a little in our warm weather and dripped onto the bees, killing them? Any thoughts on that?
If the fondant melts and goes down into the hive, it won't kill the bees. They will manage to tune themselves off. I've spilt sugar syrup all over bees, and you'd be surprised how they can get back out afterwards. So what would worry me about that was what was in the fondant. If the fondant was to blame, was it fondant intended for bees? Was it a fondant icing off the shelf, and was there anything added to it that perhaps the bees, I don't know, but that sounds very strange. The fondant itself, if it was just plain sugar fondant, would not kill the bees, even if it melted through the hive. So I don't know what's killing them.
No, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's a bit qualitative here. Hundreds of bees outside the hive could mean anything. It could look a lot, and it could just be maybe general clearance as well. But it is a bit of a coincidence. I would definitely look at who creates the fondant, and if in doubt, make your own. There's a lot of fondant recipes online as well. But it does, if the worst case scenario is a chemical side, right? Is that what you're saying, Pauline?
Yeah, or just get a fondant that's intended for bees. There's an awful lot of bee feed on the market now, very good quality fondant for feeding bees, which is already inverted, which is much better for the bees anyway.
Yeah. That's what I found, to be honest. I used to use baker's fondant from a local bakery, and I've gone for the proprietary bee feeds now, and they're much easier to use. They seem to take them down more readily as well. So
yeah,
that's good. And what do you do, Wendy? Do you make your own, or
No, I buy proper bee fondant. I have tried with the baker's fondant, and actually, to be fair, I don't think I've noticed a great deal of difference. But my feelings really are that if you go for something that's made for bees, that's the thing that you should be using to look after your bees best of all. There's a lot of argument about about sugar. In fact, this did come up as a question about the fact that I think in Wales somewhere, and I can't remember where it was, they've stopped selling Tate and Lyle cane sugar, and they're only selling beet sugar. And the beet sugar is produced in the UK. Now, I can't remember where, but I've Googled a couple of things about it, and we can't find any specific. I spoke to Claire about it as well, and we can't find anything specific that says you should use cane rather than beet. But I think it was something to do with the treatment of the seed for the beet sugar. But of course, there's an awful lot of beet sugar apparently has been produced in this country now. So I don't know.
Do you know why that is? Do you know why?
Why it's been produced in this country? No.
This is a bizarre fact because the sugar production in the country after Brexit is changing because of the import duties of the beet or the cane. And so people like Tate and Lyle, for example, there's a massive issue around the difference between the two in terms of import duties and export duties. And because of Brexit, there's going to be a few little problems. So I hear. I don't know the entire details, but
right.
I was reading it recently. So yeah, anyway, bizarre little fact. Just a quick one. Again, Claire has very kindly written in for Ricky to recommend that she looks at her association apiary and sees if they've got the different sorts of hives so she can actually have a trial. Claire personally finds the modified national is the easiest to handle in terms of getting hold of it and carrying it. But she's also got to consider the geographic location of where she is as a factor of size of the hives. So for example, if she's in the south of England with more prolific bees, she's likely to need a larger brood box. Whereas in Scotland with a thrifty bee, something smaller and more manageable might suit. So I think that's actually quite an interesting point, which is consider where you're based as well. So you've got to consider the bees and how prolific they are as well. So, and she's very kindly put a very solid a hint, which is Andrew Beer discussed the different hive types in Beecraft February 2014, page 26.
Yeah.
She's declined to say paragraph 4, sentence 2, but that's about as detailed as you'll ever get from that side. So I hope, Ricky, I hope that's really helped because that'll be a good thing for you. So look, I think we should wrap this up now. I mean, normally we do this as a very sort of quick and informal Beecraft Hangout, but any final things from you, Pauline, about sort of recommendations over Christmas other than sitting down, feet up, honey on toast, and enjoy the Christmas period?
Yeah, honey on toast sounds good. No, I've got no other recommendations. Oh, sorry, candles.
Cool.
Candles. Usually beeswax.
Yeah, candles. Yeah, exactly. And candles and candles.
If you haven't got much beeswax, something I've been making.
Oh,
wine bottle tops. All those wine. You get a little wine bottle top and put a little tiny wick in the bottom. Use a wick sustainer that you get out of an old tea light, and you can make little tea lights. And they burn for a couple of hours because beeswax burns so slowly. And they're lovely little tea lights, and you're putting beeswax into your air rather than paraffin wax.
That is a good idea. Look at that.
Yes.
Right, there's a Christmas project. Rodri, anything for you in terms of final thing for everybody?
I don't think so, to be honest. No, I'm gonna have a nice quiet Christmas, a bee-free Christmas, hopefully. Pick it up in the new year.
You have some mead though, rather than orange squash.
I will try. Yeah. Well, it's still plopping away in the corner, so it's early yet.
Good. And Wendy, finally for you, got anything to sort of say for the Christmas period for everyone?
Not really. The only thing is just keep an eye on your hives. If there's high winds or anything, check the fact that they're still upright. Heft them if you're worried about whether they've got enough stores, and just don't have too much food at home that you don't know what the heck to do with once the one day of or 2 days of Christmas have passed.
Oh, that's the best bit. And you're eating forever.
No.
That's when I get really fat. It's lovely. It's wonderful. But no, I think really, to be honest, I mean, for me, just to sort of add, I think, this is a time to enjoy. It's time to relax and take stock for next year and plan. I think one of the things that I remember from the Hangout last year was that we can't underestimate how much planning we have to do from beekeeping in terms of looking at hive records, analysing them, what was good last year, what was bad, learning from that, looking at equipment, organising your bee sheds, organising your normal sheds, organising everything you can, because the season will be so quick next year, especially with another possibly mild winter. You never know when the season will start. So for me, organisation is absolutely critical. And I remember we said it last year, and we were all caught out, with the exception of you, Rodri, if I remember correctly, because you had such a sporadic start to the year and failing queens and all that lot. Let's hope that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, it was a very, very strange year. So hopefully it'll be a bit different in this coming year now. So.
It will be. It will be. Exactly. We need one. We need one. So look, without further ado, I'm going to finish it there. But for those of you who are watching, thank you as always to sort of tuning in. I hope this has been of interest to you. Like I said, next year we'll be refining this a little bit more. We'll be actually discussing what's going on in the magazine as sort of a topic point, and hopefully having a few more people on to sort of discuss those points, and keeping and retaining the Q&A session, which hopefully you're all enjoying and can get something from. So look, actually, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. First time I've ever said it.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all of you. Cheers.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us as always. Take care.